Today we will discuss study session 5, which is market structures and macroeconomic concepts. Broadly, we are going to discuss the market structure, which is majorly divided into 4 categories. One is the perfect competition, monopolistic competition, and the oligopoly. These are the 4 market structure. After this, we will discuss the demand and supply relations, the wage determination, how the supply of the labor affects the demand, and how the equilibrium is achieved, and aggregate demand and aggregate supply effects on the market. In perfect competition, we will discuss what is the definition of a perfect competition. Perfect competition, generally we assume it's a situation where products are homogeneous, they are they have the same characteristics. The market is big and consumer and producers are aware what they are selling, and there is no entry barrier. Anyone can start the business at any point of time. Then we'll discuss the price takers. Generally, there is a term which we use, that market price setter or the market price leader, and there are a big number of people which follow the market price, which is we technically called as price takers. What is the impact on demand and supply? What is their profitability level? What is the cost and profit relation? We will discuss in our discussion. Profit maximization points we will discuss. Perfectly competitive market in the short run and the long run. This is we need to understand. But generally in the short run, because the variables are fixed, so the demand cannot change or the supply cannot manage. But in the long run, everything becomes elastic as a basic principle rule. Then what is a monopoly? Monopoly is when one firm controls all over the market. They can set any price, they don't have any substitute, and they don't let anyone come in the market. So they are maximizing their profit. Their basic objective is profit maximization instead of price maximization. Monopolist is a person who can have monopoly because of the natural monopolies based on the natural resource availability in your place, or you can have a legal monopoly. It depends. Monopolist, how they set the prices, and what is price discrimination. And once monopolist cannot go for a different pricing for the same clients, what would the consequences, how the profit will be maximized? This is what we are going to discuss in this section. Monopolistic competition, what are the characteristics of monopolistic? Because it's a market very competitive where you have little margins to respond. This is, your product is identifiable from your competitor products. So the quality, innovation, product development, research, this is very important to gain the market share. And the market is very competitive. Like we have a car which is Honda, we have Corolla, we have BMW, we have any other brands. So based on their different features, the consumer will decide that which product they have to buy. Now, based on this concept, that what would be the point where the cost and the revenues associated with it, and where the consumer or the producer will be on the point which we can named as operational efficiency. This is what we are going to discuss in that. Apart from that, there is a king demand curve which explains that the companies should set a price to some extent. In that region, the price is stable and they can make money. But above to that, price become elastic, and companies might lose their market share because their price is not competitive. So this is what we are going to discuss. In oligopoly, these are certain people who make the groups in the economy, and they become price setters, and they get the market share in based on their groups, and they create a low entry level for the newcomers. Then we will discuss the demand and supply in the market, which is most relevant with. We have to differentiate between MRP and MR, factor that affect the supply of labor, how the supply can increase or decrease. If there will be a shortage of labor, what effects it will have on the overall economy. This is what we are going to discuss. Then phases of the business cycle, we are going to discuss the recession, the booms, and what is the definition of an unemployed person. In an economy, if your population is 20 million, we cannot say that 20 million is the working population. We have to exclude the kids, the old people. We have to see what is our real working capital capacity, and what is the definition of an unemployed. What are the types of unemployment? We have certain types like frictional unemployed, we have cyclical unemployed. If you are unemployed from one job and you are finding a new job, so in between in this process, if you are unemployed, we say it as a frictional unemployment. Extending to the cyclical unemployment is a employment when the economic cycle is disturbed and there are no jobs in the market. And then we have seasonal unemployment. Some businesses, they are more focused on the seasons, like if you are making leather jackets, which will be more used in the winter seasons, so your sale is confined to the winter seasons only, and the rest season you don't have sales. So the demand for the labor will be less in that season when you don't have any demand for your products. Then we have how we calculate the inflation. We use consumer price index. This is the index which we get generally from the Department of Statistical Bureau. They have made some baskets of the goods and services. Based on that, we can compare this year prices with the base year. We can compare with the last day, last month, last year, last 10 years, based on our requirement to calculate the CPI, that is Consumer Price Index, and which tells us where the economy is going in terms of price level, in terms of inflation. If the inflation is going high, things are moving towards they are becoming more expensive. So we have to see, it's like a cost push inflation, it's a demand pull inflation. But inflation, if going far away, it is going to create drastic effects on the GDP, because if your demand is going to squeeze, or if your prices are going to be higher, it will create stress on certain variables, which may stops you not to achieve the desired objectives in terms of overall growth. Then we will discuss the factor that will affect the GDP. We will discuss two kinds of GDPs. One is the real GDP, one is the potential GDP. Potential GDP is a term that we use for a GDP which ideally we can achieve. This is something ideal, but in potential or in terms of real GDP, this is what we have the inflation adjusted gross domestic product, which is the number of goods and services produced in one country in a certain period of time. And we will discuss the supply movements in the short run, in the long run, and the demand movements in terms of short term and long term. But this will be the basic mechanism, that where the demand curves intersects the supply curve, this is a point called price, and this is called market equilibrium. And in the last, we will discuss the reasons for changes in potential GDP and aggregate supply. So a perfect competition by definition is having an ideal market which has certain characteristics. These markets, monopoly, perfect competition, oligopoly, monopolistic competition, does not exist anywhere in the real form. But in terms of observation, the broader lines you will get it here, and you can find out certain industries which are based on the concepts. For example, perfect competition assume that all firms in the market produce identical products, which is, that no market in the world is like this, that they are making similar products. So yes, some, you can say 50%, 70% forms you can see. It applies from product to product. Some product you can see identical, but some products are differentiated. They are different from one to another, which gives to a monopolistic competition science. So after reading all these four types of the competitions or the markets, we can assume, okay, for this product we can observe monopoly. For example, Diva, the way electricity, this is monopoly. For that product in cars like Honda, Toyota, Fox, we can experience the perfect monopolistic competition. So the first characteristic, product should be identical. The second is there should be a large number of consumers, means independent firms, producers. Each seller has relatively smaller portion from the total market, and there are no barriers to enter and exit.